right, our last reader of the night, who's been here as long as I've been here, or it's been here, rather. Brother Mike Cohen.
This is called, Have You Considered Crown Heights? So my wife and I have a 9-month-old, and we live in Fort Greene in a 1-bedroom apartment. So we're looking to move in the next year and get a bigger place. So we've decided we want to stay in Brooklyn. So we've been looking at other neighborhoods in Brooklyn and trying to decide what's going to be good for space, for our son, for public schools, for our state of mind, etc., etc. So my wife and I and the baby took the train to Dumbo. Supposedly there's a bunch of new buildings there at a fair price. And my wife said to me, she said, "What do you know about Dumbo?" I said, "You know, I've been to Dumbo before. I don't know what I've been there for, but I do remember being in Dumbo." She's like, "Okay, all right, let's go." Now she's organizing everything. She's got the listings, she's got the paper, the phone numbers, the calculator. She's got it all together. So we go to Dumbo, and as soon as we get off the train and we start walking towards this residence we're going to look at, a rental, we walk by St. Anne's Warehouse, and I'm like, "Oh, I've been to Dumbo before. I've been to here, to St. Anne's Warehouse. I've seen Joe Strummer and the Mescaleros. I've seen David Bowie. I've seen Cheap Trick shoot a TV show." And the highlight of my experience here in Dumbo was I saw Lou Reed do Berlin in its entirety. And before the show, Penn and Teller were outside, and I was talking to the guy who doesn't talk, and he was very friendly, and he was speaking, and I never heard Teller speak before, and I gave Teller my telephone. I'm like, "Here, call my friend Harry. He loves you guys. It blows mine when he hears your voice," and he did, and he was a nice guy. And then Lou Reed did Berlin in its entirety. It was amazing. And my wife was like, "What the fuck are you talking about? I don't want to hear about the magicians and the musicians. We're looking at apartments. You got to be focused. You have to be focused." So we get to this apartment, this rental on the outskirts of Dumbo. It's a 2-bedroom. And we're looking around, and it's nice, and it's kind of far out in Dumbo. We're looking at it, it's nice. She's doing all the talking. I'm looking around. I happen to be looking out the window of the living room, and across the street I see projects. I mean, it's New York. It's not that uncommon to see projects. And from out of the projects, I see like a 19-year-old black kid walk out, and he's wearing a Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon shirt. And I thought that was pretty cool because it's not something you see that often, a black 19-year-old coming out of the projects with a Pink Floyd shirt on. So I'm looking at this, and I tap my wife on the shoulder, and I point to this kid. I'm like, "Look!" And she turns and looks, and just as we're pointing and we're both looking, it's not that far across the street. He sees us, and he sees 2 whiteys in the new building pointing at him, and with both fingers up like this in his mouth, "Fuck yeah!" I see him like giving us the double finger. So chances are Dumbo is going to be out for us. We took the G train to Williamsburgh. We got off the G train and we're walking through Williamsburgh to look at this rental, one of these new buildings that's gone up. And as soon as we got off the train and started walking through Williamsburgh, I'm looking at all the guys in Williamsburgh, and I'm thinking, these guys all look like either Morrissey or a fucking lumberjack, every single one of them, or a cross between the two. So we finally get to this block where this rental is, and I see 3 empty mattresses discarded on the street in the garbage. And I say to my wife, I said, "Did you download that app that Harry told us about, that bedbug app that tells us all about where the bedbugs are in New York City? Why don't you get your own fucking iPhone?" I know, but do you have that app that Harry told us about? Yeah, I have the app. So she looks up on the bedbug app on that block in Williamsburg, and it's like flashing with bedbugs, flashing. So we didn't even bother looking at the apartment in Williamsburg. My wife tells me that Bed-Stuy is up and coming. Gentrification, the white people are moving in, there's new buildings, everybody's getting along. It's a lot different than the Spike Lee movie from 20 years ago. Okay, so we're going to go look at this building in Bed-Stuy, this nice 2-bedroom rental. We're going to Bed-Stuy. Now, neither of us have been to Bed-Stuy ever, so we're following a map in the subway, and we've got directions to Bed-Stuy, and this is in the middle of a Saturday afternoon. So we get off the train and we're walking. Now, when we get off the train, we don't know if Bed-Stuy is in 2 blocks or it's in 8 blocks. So we're walking towards what we believe to be Bed-Stuy, and we're having a conversation. Are we in Bed-Stuy yet? I don't know. Is this Bed-Stuy? I don't know. Are we in Bed-Stuy? I don't know. And all of a sudden, on the ground, I see a Lay's garlic and onion potato chip bag. And then I see a Nacho Zesty Ranch a potato chip bag, empty, on the ground. And then I see an empty Fritos bag on the ground. And I look at my wife and I say, "I think we're in Bed-Stuy." She rolls her eyes, gives me a dirty look and says, "You're a racist." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just making a joke. You lived in South Africa for 7 years. You're the racist." So we get to this apartment. And it's a nice block. There's white people, there's black people, there's Asian people, there's a few Pakistanis. I think I saw an Israeli. It's a nice block, and it's a nice building. It's very spacious, and the price was right. And we're like, oh, Bed-Stuy, this might be it, Bed-Stuy. So we look at the building, and we're walking back to the train. And just as we're about to get on the train and go back to Fort Greene, a black couple in their early 20s walks by behind us, and the woman says under her breath, "You better watch your backs." So Bed-Stuy is probably, you know, I've got the baby, I've got the white wife, I'm white, the baby's white, you know, you better watch your back. So Bed-Stuy is probably out. Next up is Cobble Hill. We found this home for sale. The gentleman who lived in this home is still there. He's moving out, so all his possessions in the home. So we go to Cobble Hill to look at this house. And it's very spacious. It needs a little work. There's a basement, there's an attic, there's a couple of floors, there's plenty of rooms, my music room, Ann's office, children's playroom, all kinds of room in this place in Cobble Hill. And we get in there, and Ann does all the talking to the real estate agent. You know, she does like the Yoko Ono stuff, like the business and the transactions, and I do the John Lennon stuff. I raise the child, and I write the songs, I bake the bread. So she's handling all the business transactions with real estate. I'm just looking around this big house in Cobble Hill, and I come to this gentleman's CD collection. Now, you can tell a lot about a person by their CD collection. And I'm interested, so I begin looking at this man's CD collection. I see Billie Holiday, Ella Fitzgerald, Man of La Mancha, Brigadoon, Sound of Music, West Side Story, Madonna, Peter Allen's Greatest Hits, Liza live at Carnegie Hall, Judy Garland live at Carnegie Hall. So I'm noticing this guy's CD collection, and then of course I see photographs on the wall of what I believe to be this gentleman dressed up with, you know, like wigs and makeup and everything, because, you know, homosexuals think it's a riot to put on ladies' clothes. It's just the funniest thing in the world. So we're looking at this house. We're there for like a good half an hour, and Ann does all the talking with the 3 real estate agents, and I'm just, you know, examining the guy's music collection. We leave the house. We're walking down the street, and Ann says to me, she says, "Oh, so what did you think? What did you think?" And I said, "Well, he had Billie Holiday in his collection, Ella Fitzgerald, Peter Allen, Madonna, Liza Minnelli. I think the guy that's selling the house is a homosexual." She said, "What the fuck is the matter with you? I'm trying to find a fucking house, and you're looking at someone's goddamn CD collection. What the hell's the matter with you?" Next up is Park Slope. There's a bunch of new buildings going up in Park Slope. I work in Park Slope. And we go to 4th Avenue to look at this new building in Park Slope. And there's these people outside, and they're protesting, and they've got a petition to sign with these clipboards and these T-shirts, and they're upset about something. And I'm like, "Oh, what's going on?" And they're like, "Oh, we're offended by this billboard in Park Slope. It's advertising a gentleman's club, and I see you have the baby and the wife, and you're a family man. You should sign this petition and get rid of this offensive billboard. This is a family neighborhood. Park Slope is a family neighborhood." I'm like, "Okay," I said, "it's advertising a gentleman's club, a gentleman's club." I'm like, "Oh," I said, "is there a naked lady with her legs spread on the billboard?" And they're like, "Sir, the billboard is right across the street. You can look at the billboard." And I look across the street, and I see this giant billboard that says Peyton's Playpen, Dancers Wanted, and a headshot of a woman with flowing blonde hair. And I said to the guy, I said, "That looks like a shampoo commercial to me, man. What the hell's the matter with you guys? You guys are, why don't you go give hand jobs to the Jehovah's Witnesses and get the fuck out of my face?" So we're back home, sitting on the couch in Fort Greene, thinking about where the hell we're going to live. And I say to my wife, I say, "I got a great idea. Why don't we just stay here in Fort Greene?" And she says to me, all pissed off, she says, "Besides going to your rock concerts at the Barclays Center, what else do you really like about Fort Greene?" And I thought about it long and hard, and I said, "Well, I really like walking by the Applebee's and looking in the window and seeing all those happy people eating all that delicious food." And she said, "You're a racist." I said, "No, I'm not. You lived in South Africa 7 years. You're a racist."
Brother Mike.